Hi guys, it's time for another video. This one is going to be about shopping. My goal here is to make these as quick as possible, so I'm just going to dive right in. I know we've already talked about this, but I thought having a video might be helpful to you guys. So you guys have seen this spreadsheet before. This is what I created to generate a random inventory for the shops in Jonestown. You'll see that this rarity column sets an amount that the vendor wishes he had on the shelf, and then the available is the number that he actually has on the shelf. The price that that item ends up costing is based on the Sword Coast price as a base, plus a small shipping and handling fee that gets added in to ship it all the way out into the jungle. And then another percentage that gets layered on based on the difference between how many the vendor wishes he had and how many he actually has. So you see that the difference here is actually not very much because we're going from 10 to just 9. If we scroll down to something that's maybe more rare and more expensive, it's not going to be an alchemical item. Let's find a more magical item that we can look at. Not finding any great examples because, okay, here we go. Masterwork armor and shields. I wish I had 10 around. Instead, I only have 2. So you see the price gets jacked up quite a bit, almost doubled. What you'll want to do, obviously, as a smart shopper is if you decide you want to buy something from one of these vendors, for instance, let's say you need an exotic ranged weapon, you want to look for the rarity and the number available to be either the same or really close to each other to know that you're getting, in this case, the very best price you could possibly get in Jones Valley on this exotic ranged +1 item is $24.73 over the $2,300 normal price. So keeping an eye on those fluctuations is the way to go. The sheet has a couple of special things on it that I'll point out to you, and maybe I'll stop and say, so I use this sheet to randomly generate what is for sale, and then I make a static copy of it over to this current inventory tab. So you guys will actually shop from this current inventory tab. The random tab isn't going to be useful to you because every time you type anything in it, it changes. So I have to make this static one as the fixed thing that you guys are shopping from. Every 10 day or so, I'll create a new one and I'll peel this copy off into an archive list. So when you're shopping, you'll be shopping from this. I'm going to make a separate video about how the Masterwork containers work, so don't worry about that, but you've got a link here to those rules if you need them. I've also created a unique piece of jewelry called a status ring. What it does, I will talk about here because it's pretty simple. It basically gives everybody that's wearing the ring the benefit of a status spell. So that makes it really handy for you to keep up with where your friends are and whether they're conscious or not. And if they're invisible, you still know where they are at. If they're flying up above the canopy, because remember when you're flying in the jungle, we've talked about this, it's going to be hard to, you're either going to have to pick a spot really close to the ground or way up in the air, generally because of the thickness of the canopy. The status ring is going to be super in those cases because then you'll know where your buddy is even if you can't see them. Anyway, you can read about this here. It's linked, but it's an item that I created in hopes of facilitating some of the things that I think get metagamed anyway. It'll be pretty useful, I think. And here, it's a great example of the price disparity. When he wishes he has 7 and he only has 2, you see the price is nearly double over the Sword Coast. Also, there's a shop called the Maze Walker's Shadow that carries curiosities and more rare items. It's a place you could go to sell weird things on the down low if you needed to unload a cursed item, or, you know, it's where you find the monkey's paw in the movies, right? It's the guy that sells you the gremlins. Anyway, I will, every time I make this shopping list, I will generate a random wondrous item, or possibly an armor or a weapon, but it's almost certainly going to be a wondrous item, and it'll be out here for sale. It's just randomized completely, and then I'll put a link to it so you can see if you want it. The next time this gets generated, there will not be a Scabbard of Vigor there. There will be something else. When we talk about crafting, I'll get into what rune glyphs and holy symbols and all of that sort of thing are. But I think that pretty much covers what I wanted to talk about here. The last thing I'll say is, as things get added to the list of items you can craft, I will evaluate whether they are also added to the list of things that are for sale in town. So far, everything that I'm letting you craft up to +1 items is for sale in town. But there may be certain things that I think are so cool, or if you invent an original item or something like that, then it isn't likely that anyone in town would know how to make it, or maybe wouldn't have the skill to make it. So those might remain as craft only items. But we'll try to keep all this up to date together. And I think the last thing I should have mentioned is that we will manage shopping on the message boards. I'd rather not do it at the table. So I'll make a thread. You guys go out there and post what you want to buy. And if there's a conflict, for instance, there's only one quick runner's shirt available right now. If multiple of you want to buy them, then you guys will have to come to some sort of gentleman's agreement about who gets it, or you can have a roll off on the boards. But I'm going to let you guys manage it, not me. You might want to just make it first come, first serve. Whoever posts first gets it. But that I will leave up to you guys. So that's it. Thanks very much.